So today's message is entitled Making God the Big Deal. And we'll take our main text from the book of Matthew chapter 8 verses 19 to 22. And we'll just jump in. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Another disciple said to him, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead." Now, first principle I glean from this chapter is tomorrow is never a response with God. So the disciple hit Jesus with the excuse they always get a pass for in every workplace I've ever worked for. Once you hit them with that funeral excuse, you get the day off, no questions asked. But not so with God. Here the disciple had to bury his father. Some of us would think, "Oh, give the guy a break." But God, in the eyes of God, not even that was good enough. And no excuse will get us off doing God's work today and not tomorrow. For some of us, this excuses there's that sin now you wanted to commit, or we have this head cold. None of that's gonna fly with God. We need to be about His will today, first and foremost. And He will not be happy with any other setup. And this doesn't entail singing Kumbaya all day. Never forget that His will also includes working to provide for our families, training our children in the way that they should go, fellowshipping with our brethren, being the salt of the earth. There's all these things that are part and a parcel of doing God's work. Principle number 2, we need to reconfigure our priorities. So Matthew chapter 10 verse 38 says, "Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me." A lot of Christians, even myself sometimes, we see God as the cherry on top of the cake that is their life. I once attended a fellowship here in Ireland where there were very affluent people who attended the church. At the end of every year, the Reverend would post a list of the highest donations ranked with the highest first going down. And it sounds like a lot of these guys attended the church just for the sake of entering that competition, subscribing to that competition where they could be the biggest giver. And the funny thing about those congregants is that they only congregated on Christmas, Easter, family Christians, that sort of thing. They'll never be in church. And on the aforementioned occasions, they'll appear wearing the finest suits, decked out to the nines, as the people in Northern Ireland would say. And it gave a sense of they were gracing the congregation and indirectly God with their presence. So yes, they had these great lives, and their Christianity was just a cherry on the top of it. Another box ticked. And I'm talking about them, but there are many weeks where I put off reading the Word or creating clips, even though I know God does so much through me by creating these clips. I get caught up in my work obligations, my family obligations, my exercise obligations, my social obligations. And the fact that there are those days where I don't go the full 9 yards and delve into the Word, it shows that sense that my spirituality, that limited time I spend in His presence, is a cherry on the top of the cake. That again is my life. But God will not settle for being that cherry on top. He wants to be the whole cake. And we need to take up our cross daily. Carry the burden of our obligations as believers. Because anything else less means that we are not worthy of Him, as the Word says, and we're missing Him altogether. Third and final principle, we need to reconfigure our values. So in Matthew chapter 8 verse 22 above, Jesus replied to the disciple who tried to procrastinate from serving Him with, "Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead." In order for this disciple to not have gotten extremely offended, in order for us to prosper as believers as well, we need to reconfigure the place of God in our life. When we say He comes first, that can no longer be a lip service. It needs to be based on a reality of rectifying our values. Is he being glorified in this thing I'm doing today? Is he being glorified by my motivations and attitude in this thing I'm doing today? In all things, we consult him first, we acknowledge him, we make our lives that sanctuary so he can have a place to rest his head, the Son of Man. And we'll get it wrong sometimes, we will get it wrong sometimes. It's not going to be an overnight shift that gets us from that place where we are now to him being our 100% big deal. But we need to know that this has to be our objective and we work on it daily. Amen.